Assalamu alaikum, I'm Carl Arrindell and you're watching In Focus. Now, the Muslim Brotherhood is the world's second oldest and second largest group, and many would argue the world's most influential Islamist movement. With the slogan, Islam is the solution, the Brotherhood was founded in 1928 in Egypt by the Islamic scholar and schoolteacher Hassan al-Banna. During the 80s, the Brotherhood entered Egypt's political arena, forming alliances with other parties and fielding independent candidates in the elections. They were independent in recognition of the fact that under Mubarak, the Brotherhood continued to be classed as an illegal organisation. They experienced huge success in the 2005 elections, in which the Brotherhood won more than 20% of the seats, largely put down to their active involvement as a social service organisation, filling in where the state had failed, providing food, medicine and education to many of the country's rural poor. Hosni Mubarak subsequently cracked down on the group's ability to participate in the 2010 elections, and a month later, in early 2011, the Brotherhood took an active, and many would argue, decisive part in the Egyptian revolution. The Muslim Brotherhood, Egypt's biggest political force in the aftermath of the Egyptian revolution, declared on 21 February 2011 that it intended to found the Freedom and Justice Party, which was officially inaugurated on the 30th of April. It was announced that it would contest up to half the seats in the new parliamentary elections planned for later this year. The Muslim Brotherhood's legislative body appointed Dr. Mohamed Morsy as president of the Freedom and Justice Party, and I'm delighted to say he has agreed to take time from his busy schedule to join me today in our studios in London. Dr. Mohamed Morsy, salam alaikum, and welcome to Islam Channel.
Wa alaikum assalam, ahlan wa sahlan.
Now, the Muslim Brotherhood has publicly declared that it will not field a candidate in the forthcoming presidential elections, although many have suggested that Dr. Mohamed Abdul Fattah, I don't know if I've pronounced that correctly, who is running as an independent, is in fact one of yours. What was the reasoning behind the significant decision not to field a presidential candidate?
Yeah, well, first of all, assalamu alaikum to everybody of whoever is watching us now. And thanks for you for this opportunity when I'm in London. We have decided, even before Mubarak regime stepped down on February 10th, we decided, because we've been seeing what will happen, and we will dead sure that it will come to an end very, very shortly, and the revolution will succeed. And we studied the subject deeply, and we know what's going on in Egypt, outside Egypt, in the world, in the Arab world, in the Muslim world. And we decided, the Muslim Brotherhood, we decided not to run this time. This time, it's not appropriate for Egypt. It's not appropriate for us. It's not good now just to sort of say that we can do everything. This is not correct. We are a part of the Egyptian society. We are not the major part. We don't have such high percentage of popularity, but we are probably the biggest group now in the society because of many things, because of history, because of our existence, because of the regime acts against us in the past and up till his step down. So we have seen this is a proper decision for us not to have a candidate in this coming election. For us, for Egypt, we are not capable of doing this now. The society also is not ready to accept such things in total now. And also the world probably is not prepared to see a candidate from Ikhwan Muslimin now running for elections and think, hey, those people are going to control everything. They will have the majority. They will have everything under their hands. This is not the truth. This is not reality. So we are a part of the Egyptian society. In the revolution, after revolution, we are part of the Egyptian society.
I think probably one of the most significant things in what you just said was that you said you don't think the world was ready for you to adopt that role. I know you've been talking quite a lot with Dr. al-Baradei. I think he's a figure that the West, if not anything else, is probably a bit more comfortable with. Was that your thinking?
Yeah, probably, but there are also others who can be welcomed by the West, and you know, we need some time to explain who we are. it's very important for the West to hear from us, not to hear about us. We will give the West and ourselves the opportunity in the next coming 4 or 5 years to practice real politics and to share in the government as much as it's permitted to us by the society and the people, so as to explain what the Islamic regime means and what's the real understanding of Islam, the moderate understanding of Islam, which is the only understanding supposed to be. So it's good to have such an opportunity to practice, to explain, to live with, so the layman in the West see and get convinced that we are looking for a civic state, real civic state. We are not talking about religious state in the meaning of the theocratic state. This is not in Islam at all. Islamic state per definition is civic, and it has been like this all the way down. But because of the old history and the Middle Ages and things like this, imperialism and those kind of regimes who have been all the time trying to torture our picture, to show us as if there is something very strange coming to this world. We think that it's better for everyone, outside and inside, to get or to have this chance, this opportunity to explain by practicing, not only by words. And I think the world will see a different picture than that was made to him about the Islam and the Islamic society and the Islamic regime and real meaning of how to practice Sharia through a civic state, which is our goal and aim, to establish a real good civic state with an Islamic background, and that does not contradict the goals and means of the Egyptian state now, because the constitution in Egypt has been stating all the time since more than 70 years, since 1936 or something, that the Islamic Sharia is the source of all the laws in Egypt. It hasn't been applied. So that's the situation that we are trying to
dispel the myths.
To show the people what is it. Yeah.
Now, your party is planning to contest up to half of the seats in the parliamentary elections.
Yeah, that's right.
And it's openly stated that it supports free market capitalism, but without manipulation or monopoly. I think those are your words.
Yeah.
You've also stated that when we talk about the slogans of the revolution, freedom, social justice, equality, all of these are the Sharia.
That's what we've been saying all the time.
Now, are you therefore aspiring to introducing an economy and a government based on the Sharia principles? What do those statements mean exactly?
Yeah, when we talk about Sharia, we're talking about the framework, not the details, the steps inside this framework. So what the Constitution says, and should be very clear for everybody, is the principles of Sharia, not the details of the fiqh, sort of speak. The principles means that the framework of the movement inside the laws and the parliament movement and the society is within the framework of this Sharia, the well-established, that has no question, situation, principles of Sharia. And this is, by the way, accepted by the Egyptians, Muslims and Christians. You can see how the Christians agree upon this principle, because it guaranteed their rights and gave them the right in their own affairs, family affairs and inheritance affairs and so on and so forth. But as far as the civilian law is concerned, everybody have the same rights and it's equality in everything. These are the principles of Sharia, the framework of the total movement of the society, the laws and whatever is coming out of the parliament. It's not every single detailed matter in the society. We cannot say in everything. We're talking about banks and things like this. There is a basic principle and the movement inside the principle, which is accepted by the people. The people is always showing that we accept this framework of Sharia.
Now, I'm going to go on to something perhaps a little bit more controversial. We've just had a weekend which was the anniversary of the Nakba in Palestine, and saw several Palestinians killed by the Israeli forces. The Muslim Brotherhood has been clear in its condemnation of Israel and, in particular, of Zionism. In the event that the Freedom and Justice Party forms a major part of the new government, and I think you would probably accept that that's most likely, will the new government accept the legitimacy of the State of Israel? Will it, for example, recognise the peace treaty that's been in place and observed by Egypt for over 30 years?
Yeah. Let me say a few things, few points. First of all, we are not against the Jew. We are against Zionism. And Zionism has been by United Nations before. It was denied by the United Nations before, and then something happened later and things changed. But we are not against the Jew. The other thing is, Egypt is a big country, and it's a real good state in the world. And this kind of treaty or other treaties are made it's made according to the Egyptian people, well, at least formally speaking. So when there are treaties like this, and it has been recognized by the Egyptian parliament, the Egyptian parliament has been representing the government more than the people, but it's a parliament anyway. So we do not have the right to wreck any of these treaties according to just our desire or will. It's not our desire or will, it's the desire of the people through the parliament, the free one. This is the second point. Third point is talking about Israeli state. Israel is already a state. It's recognized in the United Nations. So when we ask such a question, do you recognize Israel as a state? Israel is already a state. But they are attacking the Palestinians. They are all the time they keeping shooting the Palestinians. The United States is now government. I'm not talking about people. I'm not talking about government. It's all the time biased to the situation of Israel, using the veto, and they stop all kinds of attempts to condemn Israel as far as they are attacking the Palestinians. What we are asking now, the free world, how about the Palestinians? Does the Western people recognize the Palestinians for a state or a Palestinian state or not? Palestinians are not now living in Palestine, they're outside. How about the right of coming back, the refugees coming back to Palestine? What should we say about this? But we keep talking about the right of Israel to exist, the right of the Israeli people to live in peace. Yes, everybody has a right to live in peace, but how about the Palestinians? How about the surrender, what happened to Gaza and to the West Bank also? How about the territories? Where is the green light now? There is a green line made by the United Nations. Who is living where now? Where is the Israelis as far as this green line is concerned? Regardless of our position for that green line in the past and up till now, but does Israel and the Israelis respect what being issued by the United Nations and by the world or not? It's very important to talk about. If you want to talk about peace, it must be comprehensive. It must be peace for everybody. People, if the Israelis are talking about peace, where is that peace as far as Palestinians' will and dignity is concerned? That's our situation. As we respect the Egyptian parliament and we respect Egypt as a state, and we are keen to raise up, not to draw back Egypt in the international society. So whatever has been agreed upon by the parliament is respected. The right of the people to change anything is going through the parliament, not through us. We cannot imagine that any party who have a majority, every time he will go and change the treaties and the constitution, and this is just ridiculous to talk about.
Now, many will argue that Egypt under Mubarak has been complicit in maintaining the siege against the Palestinian people of Gaza. Will this be allowed to continue, and will the restrictions of movement in and out of Rafah, for example, be totally removed? What, in your opinion, will be the implications of completely opening the borders between Palestine and Egypt?
Yeah, I think they are now starting a process of removing such siege from the Egyptian side. This this border should be open totally between Gaza and Egypt and Rafah, because this border belongs to the Palestinians and the Egyptians. And as far as international society is concerned, this must be open. Yes, you say you can put conditions. The international society says, well, no weapons got to go through these borders, for example. But how about food and the medicine? Now, this border gates must be opened completely. If I am in power, if we are in power, this has to be opened, and this is just natural, normal process to have the border between two countries open. Now we say that Gaza has a government, and this government now they are getting together. Hamas and Fatah are getting together and getting in better situations together. They will have a government that agreed upon by both sides, in Gaza and West Bank. The borders between Egypt and Gaza must be opened all the time. Of course, it must be controlled, just open as if Gaza is a part of Egypt. It's not a part of Egypt. But it used to be a part of Egypt.
You've seen the response of Israel immediately to this unity agreement.
Yes.
They've withheld money to the PLO and so on. I mean, I was in Cairo just a few days ago talking to the Director of Palestinian Affairs in the Foreign Ministry, and he argued that these restrictions of movement through Rafah had been there to ensure that Israel lives up to its obligations as an occupier. Now, some even suggest that Egypt's real objective is to have Gaza really annexed over to Egypt, and with all the control and responsibility being passed to Egypt. Is that, I don't know if you agree with that, is some sort of annexation of Gaza into Egypt ever a feasible option?
Yeah, you know how much is the population of Gaza?
1.5 billion people.
Yeah. What is that? In Egypt, in Cairo, small districts in Cairo are 3 or 4 million. So this is just fraud, threats that are just in the minds of somebody here or there. Gaza used to be, before 1967, it was a part of Egypt. There was no border. Gaza was given somehow for Egypt to control its borders with the occupation of Israeli after 1948. The Palestinian people in Gaza has the right to live, and the Egyptian people has the right to extend their authority on their borders. And if they want to help the Palestinians in Gaza, that's their right to help them. Not to make war with the others. We do not agree on that. But the resistance, people resisting imperialism and resisting occupation, that's a general right in the whole world. But now you want to stop resistance, draw back and go back and leave the people left on their own lands.
Now
we cannot talk from only one side. We have to talk about the whole thing, comprehensive.
Now you've spoken about the need to help the Palestinian people.
Yes.
And I suppose you would agree that there needs to be the establishment of a viable Palestinian sovereign state there.
Yes.
That has not been possible while its complete borders have been restricted. But I suppose if the borders are open with Egypt and it's got free movement, there is a possibility that you've got a viable establishment of a state.
Yeah, why not? That's the right of the Palestinians to have their own. It's written in the treaty between Egypt and Israel, the peace treaty. These things that you're saying now, it's written. It's in the introduction. It's written that this has to be done. They should have their own state. They should have the right to come back again, the refugees. It's also talking about an airport for Gaza and the people in this new state that can be born sometime. But they didn't decide. Those people who signed these treaties didn't have the real will to establish such a state. Now, Palestinians are ready, regardless of our opinion as a Muslim Brotherhood. Palestinians both are ready to accept a state on the lands of the borders of 1948 up to 1967. They are ready to do that. Now, they are not allowed to do this. they have all kinds of obstacles in front of them to move towards this goal, which is a very simple one. You want to live in peace, and the others, how about the others? You want to keep the blood be shed everywhere, and you want people to love you or to collaborate or cooperate with you. It's very, very difficult for the Egyptian people to accept such a situation. The Egyptian people want to help their brothers and sisters in Gaza and in the West Bank also. And the Egyptian people are not with the war. They are against war. They've been suffering from war. But if the peace is on the expense of the Palestinian people, then this is, what kind of peace is this?
Now, you can imagine, though, the Israelis are a bit nervous. They suggest that the Muslim Brotherhood condones the use of violence against innocent civilians in Israel. You have defined this as a legitimate resistance of a people under occupation.
Yes, it is.
Now, will a future Egyptian government openly support and provide tangible assistance towards armed resistance to the Palestinians' attempts to rebut Israeli occupation? I'm talking about, for example, allowing the free flow of military equipment and weapons and so on into the territories.
Yeah. Let me say two things in this. First of all, if we want to make, if the people in the international society and Egypt and others want to allow the Palestinians to have their own state, will it be a state or not? What's the meaning of a state? A state is people who are living on a land and they have common things together like religion or language or and they have their own government and they are independent. They should have their own army. What? Now you want a special state. You want a state without authority, which is not acceptable. The other thing is, if you want to ask us about the solution of this problem, our opinion is to have only one state in Palestine. Not two states, one state. For all Palestinians, Muslims, Christians, Jews, living on the same principle, under the same constitution, with all laws together. This is what we think will solve the problem.
Are you saying to do away with the state of Israel and have one state of
Palestine? One
Palestine?
state of Palestine, why not?
Yeah.
I'm not talking about resolving everything in this area, but I'm talking about if you have really a one state, everything will be okay. Living, you see, if you have a constitution, one constitution, or for all these people, Palestinians, Muslims, Jews, Christians, living in the same land. Now, the Palestinians accepted a small state for themselves. Okay, if they want this, we agree. They want this to live in peace in the area. Now, but if this is going to happen, let's talk about a real authorized state with the full meaning of a state, member in the United Nations. And after that, don't ask me and say, well, I'm threatening you. If you do any single thing with this state, then you are criminal. This is not acceptable at all.
So what you're saying, I mean, first of all, I just want to just quickly address one of the points. The one-state solution is obviously one that's been debated for many years.
Yes.
But Israel will never accept that.
Well, we're talking about our opinion, not the Israeli opinions.
Yes.
They do not accept anything. They do not accept even the two-state solution, practically, not just in talking.
And are you saying that if Palestine was established as a viable, independent, sovereign state, that nobody should be asking questions about whether you allow the free flow of weapons?
Yes.
And so, therefore, are you saying that they would be freely allowed to transfer of weapons and many military equipment?
I'm not talking about weapons for war, but people are dealing with each other. Now, the United States, its policy, and it's very clear, they're supporting Israel militarily. They give them tanks and weapons and cannons and bombs and everything. They give them the technology, they give them the aircrafts. So what's wrong in that? It's used, because if you talk about a state, an independent state, then don't define the way it's going to deal with others in the future.
Well, we've come sadly to
you're talking about a state, then it's a state.
We've come to the end, sadly, of the first half of the programme. Please join us again, viewers, when we can continue this enlightening conversation with Dr. Mohamed Morsy.